So bird's nest spruce, this is the one that I trimmed up early this spring. You can see it's just growing tremendously. So all this length is new and it's got lots and lots of buds everywhere. This species is just phenomenal for producing buds. You know, so even like you look at a branch like this, you can just see buds, 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 buds at the tip. So really strong. It really grew tons. It's starting to again look like a shrub. Some other things of interest is, you know, like I think I had this maybe as my apex before and I tilted it up and it actually died back. And the other one that I tilted up quite a bit, it turned quite green. Now some of this might have been the intensity of wire, but I was also listening to Ryan Neal and he was talking about some species that are not apically dominant. Now Norway spruce normally would be, but maybe this cultivar isn't. It takes vigor away from those ones as it wants to grow left and right and horizontal. And so it could have been that these are weakened. This one definitely, I mean, just totally died, and it did have a little bit of a intense scarring on it. This one is still alive. You can see it's quite green. It does have buds, so I think it will be okay. I think I will be able to use it if I decide to in the overall design. But you can see it's gotten quite out of shape. I'm thinking this is probably the line that I want to kind of keep and then make into my apex and then have this as a branch. And I was looking at this over here. So this is coming off of here. Now this is where I have the three. Now what's happening is it's swelling more than I thought it would. I thought maybe I could get away with just kind of tilting it, and it was pretty thick, but this is probably just going to keep swelling. So I actually think I'm going to gin this, and it's really just these two branches that are left on it. You can see I had one there that I carved off, so I'm going to gin, I think, this whole side, and probably again make the apex up here. So try to pull all this out, back down, and lengthen this side. Keep this side relatively short. I am going to try to somewhat get of a, you know, a triangle style shape in it, but we'll see. So still looks like a bush. What you see I've done is I've ginned this whole branch up, and this is to, if you see this, it gets really fat here, and there's a little bit of a bulge here, which I don't like. So I'm actually going to take off some of that back, and I've taken off this, and I'll eventually kind of create this into like a dead, as though something's kind of happened to the tree on this side. I didn't want to take it entirely off. It does kind of still clutter the design, and like with something like this, you can see it's still just a huge bush. So I need to create a lot more space within the tree. But I do think I will keep this, and if I put lime sulfur on it and make it really white, which, you know, is an option, I think it will you know, contrast out and create less clutter that way. But overall, I'm still, it still looks like a bush. Now, some of the other things I wanted to mention that I've noticed in this, and it's kind of this question of how do you move a tree forward? And part of it, what I'm noticing is it's getting these bulges where there was just tons of branching. And when you look at it, it bulges out, right? And this is where the triple branches come out. So I'm actually gonna take some of those out and reduce them to twos. So, you know, when I look at it, I go, okay, well, where are the triple branches? So here's a triple branch. This is just gonna create this into a big knuckle here, which I definitely don't want, especially since it's one of kind of my primary lines. So I'm gonna take this back one off. If you look back here, there's a triple, and that'll just create a bulge there. So I'm actually gonna take this off, which is this entire section. And then here I had quite a few branches coming out. Now it kind of, you know, there was 3 right here and it created a bulge, and so I took the main one, but this one still continues. Now, unfortunately, this one I think might have just snapped a bit. I heard some snapping right here when I was bending it, right in there. So it may just go anyways. Now it's just producing depth at this point, which I can kind of make up with some of these back branches. But like I said, overall, it's, you know, I still want to kind of have the apex here, so I'm going to move this in a little more. Now this may, because it's green, the buds look really good still. I think it will continue, but if it doesn't, I can use this back branch that I'm going to keep and eventually pull it back over. But I'm gonna say that front bit's gonna live. Get this in. Okay. So this is the viewing angle. And I've tilted it up a bit. So let's go ahead and take some of these big ones off. And again, I want to create a lot of space in here. So I'm going to take this off. This actually has a little bit of a nub there that I've used to hold my wire on. So I'm going to keep a little bit of a nub there. But then let's take this big guy off here. Get better clippers for that. So this should create tons of space, and it'll get rid of my triple branch. But yeah, so I just took out a huge section of it. And oh, it's already feeling way better to me. There's just way more space. Oh, I really like that. So those are the big cuts. I'm actually gonna take out, I had little bits of dead wood in here. This is just causing clutter. When I first did the tree, I didn't want to spend tons of energy on the sap, so I actually kept a lot of these little gins. And I don't know if it uses more energy to keep it like this or if I just cut it. You can see it's produced lots of sap in there, but a lot less than I think if I just cut it right there. It would have just sapped out a lot. Now I did it in the spring then too, so. Okay, so they're major branch selections. Oh yeah, let's get rid of this. So a little teeny bud I'm just gonna kind of keep there. This dead branch here also come back. Maybe I'll keep that as a little gin in there. I don't think so. No, this is causing too much clutter. There we go. That's nice. So I'm actually going to come in, and I am, like I said, I ordered some concave cutters, so that's looking much better. Yeah, very nice. So let's do a little bit of bending. So this apex needs to come in just a bit. I am a bit wary of this branch. I don't want to bend it too much. I do need it to come in a bit. There we go. There we go, fill in some of that space. These are gonna come in, down and in. So I've wired it up. Here, just a bit. Wow, there's actually still wire in there. Darn. I'm gonna have to unwire that. Wow, that's cutting it a lot. So I've started to use a little bit higher gauge wire. For one, I find it doesn't cut in. Oh geez, it's really cutting in. Okay, gotta unwire this. You know, after I did my hemlock, I underwired that one and the branches sort of sprung back and oh, it's just painful. So I've been kind of trying to overwire a little bit more. And then you also get away from these really thin, this thing was just cutting in immensely. Look at that teeny little wire I had in there. So I want the branch to move. I want the branches to move and not have to re-bend it and bend it and bend it. Now this one's gonna suffer a little bit because of this, but it'll be happy to get that off. There we go. That's way better. Another branch there. Let's see, now this also is gonna have to come down because I still want this to be the apex. Now this is just gonna let it grow. So I'm actually gonna bring this in. Just give it a little movement. Not a lot. There'll be some nubs up there, some buds. Okay. There's that. Okay. So let's deal with this back a bit. So this one I may have to turn back into as the apex again. So I'm gonna keep it. I want to place it in there. I think I need to deal with this branch first. So you can see there's a teeny bit across here. It might be really hard to see. I need to bring this down to create some gap in there. And the same thing here, there's a little section that's the branches are crossing over, so you don't want that. So I'm gonna bend this down. Now this branch already has a lot of the movement in it from my previous bend. I'm really just bringing this down. That's gonna have to come in just a bit to create space for that. A little bit more. There we are. So now you can see the, let's see if I can see it. So this branch there is coming down. It's maybe a bit strange from your guys' angle. It just looks a lot bigger than it does. I think this section here looks a lot bigger than when it does when you kind of step back from the tree. You know, I probably should have set, now I did want this one lower. I'm gonna make it even lower. This one's gonna be a little lower. This is where probably setting that primary branch first would have been helpful. Okay. So it's looking good. Now I want this to be the main branch, not this. And you can see there's just way too much foliage up there. When I look at branches, I do have, let's see if you can tilt it up. Yeah, so if you see the branches here, I do have to clear out some of this. I think I'm going to keep this one and this one, which means I'm going to take out this one. I'm just going to take that whole thing out. There. These ones that are coming straight down, that one I might keep. Now, because it's, and normally if you were to trim these back, like I'm looking for buds now because the buds are formed. But if I was to do this sort of that post-harden flush, like midsummer, I could expect, well, even early summer, I could expect buds right where I cut or right back at the junction. Because the buds are formed, if I cut this back and there's nothing there, that whole branch will just die. Now this one I actually am going to cut back because there's just a lot of crowded space in here. So I'm looking for buds along this, and I'm actually not seeing any. So I'm going to have to leave that entire branch. There we go. There, getting some differentiation of space. Yeah, so this is way too long, right? This is where I want the length. So this all has to come back. Now again, I'm not seeing many buds on there. It's unfortunate for these. There are some buds. There's one right there, so that one I can just take right back. It's really strong. So the strong ones, they produce a lot of buds. And there's buds right in the base on that one. This, though, doesn't seem to have any except for at the tip here, so I'll take it back to there. Do you have any buds on you? Just a little one right at the tip. There's actually some right at the base there, so I'm going to take that back. Let's see. Yeah. This branch, move in and out, give it a little space. That actually allows me to take this branch off, the one that I had no buds on. So I moved that one into that space. Now there's a lot of growth coming up. I'm actually going to take those off. There we are. So you can still see I've got a lot of growth. This is just a teeny bit longer than there. I would love to pull this back even more. Let's see. Again, no buds, eh? Where I think I'm gonna have to leave that one for now. You also don't have any buds, so I'm gonna actually have to leave these, and maybe this interior. Let's see if I take that. It's like no branches there. Let's see the height of that. Yes, it's still a little bit high, so I can pull this down. That's right there. Sticking up a bit, that's okay. Okay. Starting to kind of come there. So this is starting to become the apex a bit, which is nice. It's exactly what I wanted. So another thing that I had done last year is I left a lot of growth back here. You know, this made the design here and then left a lot of growth back here. And realizing that I didn't balance the energy. And so what happened is this whole back area just grew. And so I got tons of vigor on the sections that I don't even want. You know, it was just my hesitancy as a beginner, not wanting to take off too much, but in retrospect, I should have taken off much more of this stuff that I definitely didn't want, and that would have pushed growth to the areas that I do want. Now, of course, it sounds so obvious when I say it like that, but I wanted to keep the tree alive, and so I said, oh, I'm going to take less, and then and just leave this back section. I've done that for a few trees, and now I think you just got to go for it. And so you got to trim the sections that you're not going to use. Let's see. So we've got this and this branch that I have to deal with back here, and then this lower one. Because this one might die, I am going to move this one into here and this one down into here. So let's start with this. I want this lower, I don't want this to cross over here too much. Put that back and down. Branches are just cutting into each other a bit. And this one, I have that back. Okay. So again, I'm just taking back to where I see a bud to build ramification. And I want to reduce the vigor back here. I don't want these to just take off, and they're looking really strong. Like that, that's... Let me just see if there guys' angle. Yeah, I don't want... This branch will come in here, okay. Down. So this one I had wired previously, kind of into a position, and now it's like I'm unwiring it out of that same position I put it in. And that just goes to show you that how important it is to get some of the design concept right when you're first designing, and not leaving too much, right? Yeah. So if you look at the back here, this stuff is really vigorous, and eventually I want these buds to come out. So I'm actually just going to trim to here. There's a double bud there, a bud there, and you can see comparative to when I was trimming up above, that there's just so much more options for selection back here. And that's because it was so much more vigorous, because I left so much of it on. But this is not the place I want it to be, right? Now it's a bit uniform back there. It's a bit uniform. Let's get this one in. I'm gonna put it around. I want to bend it around in case I have to use this. That's a nice thick wire, okay. Let's cut these back now. Bud there. Like I said, there's a lot more buds on these. Than there was on the other one. So there's a triple branch here, it's coming to the inside. Oh, but I may need that one. Maybe I'll put it in there. So one's coming right off the top. Just take this. So again, I'm trying to look, I'm seeing there's 3 branches in here. I'm trying to decide which one. If I turn that in, that'll come to the back. Okay, I just decided it. So there's that piece off. There we go. This piece is not really sticking up. I'm gonna twist that branch just a bit, that'll pull it down. Again, these are the branches I left really strong, and they just have tons, lots and lots of buds. Lots of selections, not really not where I wanted it. I wanted it up here. Okay. Just too small. So now I have, let's see. Can't wait for my knob cutters, or my concave cutters. I'm just gonna trim it this one way. It's just too, it sticks out too much. There we go. These scissors are pretty small, so I don't want to tax them too much. A little more off. Okay. We'll let that part grow. So I thought this branch was going to be shaded by this other one, but it's not. So it can come in and create some depth here, which is the way I had it originally. Go. Oh yeah, that's nice. That creates some nice depth there, that back branch. So you can see some of these are still sticking up too much. These can come down. So I'm bringing them into the branch. Create that. You don't want these big, wide, obtuse angles. So I'm bringing it in to create a more acute angle. And then bending it out. And again, like with this tree, I don't want tons of movement because I don't have tons of movement in the trunk. I want to sort of balance that. Clearing up some space in there. So again, like everywhere else, just trimming back to where I see buds. One I already got. So again, I'm going in. Oh, this didn't have that wrapped very well. In and then out a bit. And that can kind of occupy that space. space there. 1, 2, 3 off. So there's sections like this where it's just, this will just create a knob. I'm just taking off buds where I don't want them growing up. Now eventually this will be my ramification at some point, so you got to be kind of careful with that, how much you're going to take off and how much you're going to leave. Okay. You know, so I will be, in the spring, I will be able to take off some of these branches that I see growing. The buds will all shoot out and I can kind of select again. This is just way too long, eh? I wonder if I pull it back. It needs to just be in here, really. Yeah. You know, this is going to grow out, but this is quite a strong branch here. Yeah, so I am just going to pull it back. Now there are buds in the base here. That branch is just too thick. Tempted just to bring it back here. There's not a lot of buds on here though. It may have to eventually be the pad. Which makes me think, okay, well, at least take it back to that. Not gonna want you shooting out. Time to just take it right to there. Right there. That'll still be left. Well, I guess that's just gonna have to be, I think that's just how it is at this point. I mean, what's kind of strange, let's see, one more little cleanup I can do. I think you guys might all be used. That's pretty good. Now I am taking a risk doing it now versus the spring. It's got a winter. It's basically just going to go into dormancy here. Not a chance to heal, grow, or do anything. So, you know, probably smarter to do this in the spring. I just wanted to get some of my, you know, there's that bonsai paralysis that happens. And these spruce are such good training, such good trees to train on. So forgive me because they produce so many back buds. Okay. Let's look. Let's see. So, this is my main section. That's going to be a bit of an eyesore for now. This will hopefully all grow up and over. So it definitely needs some work on the apex. You know, if you look at it here, I've definitely uncluttered it. There's still too many branches. It's still too cluttered. I think especially in the back here, if you look, there's too much going on. So some of these, you know, then this is the one that might die anyways. So I can cut it back to there. I think some more of these will eventually have to come. That was kind of my lesson from last time, was to take what you need, but I think it's looking pretty darn good right now. you know, this could be cleaned up a little bit. The pads could be cleaned up. But from that angle, let's just move it over. That's the angle I like. That one needs to be wired down. I'll wire that down. But yeah, I'm actually really happy, and I'm gonna carve out a little bit more here to get rid of this sort of knob. It looks like a reverse taper, and this will give it some taper. It's kind of just straight up stick. So carve out more there, maybe down and around. That'll all be sort of dead, as though something sort of happened to that tree. Now it could kind of be, you know, I'm gonna put it in a pot, and the pot will have a lot of empty space under here. So it could kind of be like a tree that's, you know, windswept in some way. The wind's coming in, it could be off the ocean, so there's a bunch of trees here, and it's kind of pushed the tree back, and you know, as the wind blows, it makes these gnarly little branches, but the back ones have a little bit of protection from the front ones, and then they grow up. That could be what happens here, is this one kind of grows up, and then a huge storm comes in, and it hasn't had the time to grow and gain strength from the constant wind of the ocean or something, and then this branch could have just broken right off quite some time ago. But yeah, it's actually looking, I'm actually quite happy about it. It's getting some nice flat, like, you know, I gotta trim up a little bit. Get these, you know, this would look really nice, kind of all flattened out. So that'll be sort of next year's work, is really flattening it out. But overall, I'm just super happy. I think I say that every time, but I'm really liking this. And the bird's nest spruce is just such a nice tree to work on, because it produces so much back budding. Yeah, like this is just funky, right? I gotta get rid of one of those for sure. Same with one of these. Yeah, and I will probably repot this in the spring, so this will have taken quite a beating. You know, trimmed up in the spring, a heavy trim. And then in the fall here, trimmed up and then repotted it, but I actually think it will do well. So like I said, I think it, you know, I need to flatten some of those pads out a little bit, which will be nice. You really flatten them out. Grow this up more, get a better apex. You can see it's pushed back a bit, but if this was up here, I'd actually have a little bit of an apex. And I've tried to, you know, like I said, I've tried to kind of keep a triangle with it pushing out here. This I'm going to grow out even more. This will hold back. But yeah. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.